The opinions expressed are those of the program host and guest and are not those of WSTU. WSTU does not endorse products that may be mentioned. Any reproduction or retransmission of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without written consent of WSTU. The phone lines are open. Call in with your questions and comments at 220-9788. That's 220-WSTU. It's time for Stuart Laser Talk with your host, Dr. Tred J. Rizacker.
I'm 5'10" and 242 pounds.
I always say this is the biggest I'm ever going to be, and I said that like 20 pounds ago.
A third of Americans are obese, another third is overweight.
Obesity is the biggest threat to the health, welfare, and future of this country.
I've always been overweight.
I've got diabetes,
Sleep apnea, heart disease.
everything's hurting now.
It's a lot easier to lose weight than it is to keep weight off.
This is probably going to be the first generation of children who are going to have a shorter life expectancy than their parents.
18% of our children right now are obese.
It's not only health, it's about survival and well-being of the United States as a nation.
You don't crave broccoli, and our generation has grown up craving a Big Mac.
I'm going to think that there's something better for me.
Unless we're able to control this epidemic, we're going to have an abundance of chronic disease.
All of us have to be part of the solution to reduce obesity.
The weight of the nation is out of control, but we can fix that.
If we don't now take this as a really urgent national priority, we are all going to pay a really serious price.
Obesity will crush the United States in oblivion.
Hey, wake up there, Stuart, Florida. You're super excited, youthful, energetic, healthy. Doctor of Chiropractic is here. My name is Dr. Tred Rizacker, and I am going to be the entertainment for the next hour if you choose to tune in and stay tuned in. It's called the Slim Body Laser Spa Health and Wellness Show, and I'm excited. I mean, when am I not excited, you guys? Come on. You know who you're talking to here. I am the highly excitable chiropractor, I like to say. And I just want to thank you for tuning in and being a regular listener. I know there's a lot of people out there I'd love to reach out and say hi to, but there wouldn't be enough time in the day to hit them all. But I want you to know that I take this role very seriously, being here on WSTU for over 14 years now. And I only took one little hiatus just about a year ago. I took like 6 months off over the summer, and I'm back. But, I go out and I go to events, I go to networking meetings, and I go to different workshops, and people come up to me and they hear my voice and are like, "Oh my God, you're that doctor on the radio." I'm like, "Well, yes, I am. Yeah, that's me." "Oh man," he goes, "I never had anybody come up and tell me I was full of garbage or it didn't make any sense or why." It never, ever, ever. It's always, we love listening. You bring up some things which we never thought about or looked at. You're always showing ways of avoiding injury and ways of getting healthier quicker with less downtime. I mean, just a better idea, a new idea about health and wellness and what you have to do, when you're sick. And that's what I do. That's what I learned. That's what my dad taught me. My brother's a chiropractor. Both my sisters are. And it isn't about chiropractic. It's just realizing that there's two definitely divergent opinions about what you should do when you're sick. I mean, they're very, very divergent. It really has a lot to do with how you grew up and what your parents did and what they looked at when they were sick and what shows you've watched and areas that maybe you were interested in, and also where you work. People that are entrenched in the medical society and in the medical business model, hospitals, drug therapies, pharmaceutical agents, aftercare, assisted living. these people are entrenched and indebted to the medical industry creating business for them, creating this business model, which is everywhere. And, but there are other options, yet they seem few and far between, and almost to the point where when they do recommend another option, such as ivermectin, it's instantly pulled out and you're just crucified. I mean, right? Crucified. And this brings me to a couple of principles about health and healing and wellness that are really important to understand. And that is, it really begins with Hippocrates. Now, Hippocrates was considered the father of medicine. He was the father of medicine. And one of the things that he stated was that a doctor should do no harm, that, a person should be looked at with food and exercise and cleanliness and a safe environment, and that, the doctor of the future will use no medicine, but will interest the person in the use of natural holistic remedies. And it's called the Hippocratic Oath. And somehow, it got hijacked by a medical industry, a food industry, and a government that supports whomever is paying their bills and paying their salaries and investing in their re-election campaigns. These are the companies and the business models and the ones that you're going to see promoted and promulgated as safe and effective when they might not be. So it's deep how far down it goes. And, you could, like I said, you want to go into the rabbit hole. How about the gopher hole and the rabbit hole and the hole down to the middle of the earth? If you start digging into the backing and the pharmaceutical industry and how they're the people that are doctors that graduate medicine and become, paid servants and slaves to the medical industry, because in order for them to have clients, they have to belong to a hospital. And in order for people to be able to afford what they do, they have to be in the insurance plans. And, if you're not in the insurance plan, if you're not a doctor that accepts somebody's insurance coverage, you're probably not going to have many people coming in. So, the idea that you have freedoms of choice when you're sick is if you're a consumer, which is what people are when they access health care. They're a consumer of health care and health benefits and health advice. You got to be really, really careful as you pick through this as to what is the best for you. And so I'm going to give a few stories, a couple of just things that will explain a little bit about the problem and why it's so entrenched. And the first one I'm going to explain to you is and I'll summarize it telling you that most medical professionals, doctors, nurses, people in the ERs, people at the front line, they are really overwhelmed with just serving the amount of sick people that are coming in. And they don't really have a lot of time to look at preventive care and to spend a lot of time trying to teach you and show you other than, these fake NGOs, these fake non-government organizations, these nonprofit juggernauts like the American Cancer Society, the American Heart Association, the American Diabetes Association. These are all groups that have been put together by people and businesses and business models that benefit from sickness and benefit from medical treatment and benefit from new drugs and new therapies and also making sure that their members have high credibility, that they are the person that promotes these groups. The American Heart Association promotes cardiologists and promotes a lot of different foods, and they have involved in telling you what you can eat and what you can't eat. And, they made a lot of mistakes. I mean, if anybody has been listening to the different podcasts, they've probably heard of somebody by the name of Dr. Casey Means, Means, and her brother, Callie Means. These two youthful people in their early 30s, she's a medical doctor who was trained as an ENT and found that it wasn't, it didn't seem like she could do more help trying to prevent disease and just treat disease when it shows up. So she developed a protocol and an ability to try to prevent the diseases versus treating the symptoms again and again and not helping people. And as a medical doctor, she has a lot of credibility in this avenue, in this area. And the same thing goes with her brother, who is a Harvard, I don't know, he's very well trained. He's was a lobbyist, and he worked within the pharmaceutical industry, promoting and lobbying the government and the programs to support drug therapies and to support the food industry. I guess he worked with some of the big food groups. I don't want to name it exactly. I might be mistaken but they're a big software drug company. And what he found is that as a lobbyist, that the amount of money that's paid from these food manufacturers, whether it's Kraft Food or Coca-Cola or Pepsi or Frito-Lay's, these companies that sell and manufacture these foods that are they're not even food. It's a food product, that the amount of money that's spent to ensure that these people have standing and that they get into the school lunches and they get into the government programs, into the SNAP benefits, the EBT benefits that pay for it, that these groups are super powerful, and you're just really not going to get a lot of other options when it comes to the strength of these groups. And one of the ways that these groups get their information out and make you feel that you're supporting something that's non-binding, that's not promotional, is by creating these associations. The American Heart Association, the American Cancer Society, American Diabetes, the Autism Speaks movement. These are groups that are not necessarily giving you all of the information that's available. And it's coming out, man. It's coming out. It's being pushed out that there's other options. There's other safer things you can do. In fact, sometimes it's better just to leave it alone. Your body was created perfectly, with a perfect functioning nervous system, with the right immune system and the right bacteria load and the viruses that are healthy and happy. And you have a microbiome of bacteria that are in your body that have proliferated since you were born. And these are beneficial bacteria. These are bacteria that help you to survive. They help digest your food. They help produce energy from foods you eat. They also produce most of your serotonin and growth hormone at least the serotonin is produced from the gut, from these gut microbiome, from these bacteria that live in your belly. And there's more bacteria in your gut by cellular count than you have cells in your body. So let's say a human body has 30 trillion cells. And that means bone cells, muscle cells, blood cells, fat cells, skin cells, 30 trillion. The amount of bacterial cells and virus cells and archaea and bacteriophages, which makes up your microbiome, your gut bacteria, which is below your stomach, but before your rectum, your lower intestine, which is we call the gut. The amount of bacteria and cells is like 200 trillion. It's incredible how many more there are. Maybe not 200 trillion. So if there's 30 trillion, it's like 200. Yeah, it is. It's like 2,400 trillion little cells that make up your bacteria, your gut, your microbiome. And this is your helper, your friend when it comes to healing and tissue repair. It's the messages and the information that comes from your gut that goes to your brain and back to your gut. Now, if you're somebody that does a lot of podcasts, or you're learning a lot online, and you're finally, getting to read about this microbiome and this gut axis, you'll understand where I'm coming from. But most of you out there don't have any idea that this huge beneficial microbiome, which is a beneficial to your health and your healing, is there in your belly. Yet one of the number one ways that you can destroy your gut microbiome, these bacteria, which are beneficial, is by giving it the wrong food, feeding it the wrong foods. Well, feeding it things that are not food. They're not wrong foods. They're not food. Okay? So we should define what the definition of food is and not food. This sounds ridiculous, because you would know if you were a caveman and you were walking around, if you picked up a rock versus a grub worm, you'd know right away which is food and which isn't. But somewhere along the line, we have blended foods and food products as us believing they are the same. Now, one of the reasons why they name things either food or food products has to do with licensing and patent and control of that name, brand, and whatever it is that food product has, whatever they concocted and developed in their lab, which to you might look like food, but to them, because of the chemicals and all of the pieces of technology that went into developing that food product, they have their patent on it. And one of them might be nacho cheese, Doritos. Guaranteed there's a patent on how much corn they put in and the other ingredients that they put in, the preservatives, the spices, the things that are not food. So now you have something called a food product. It's not food, it's a food product. Hot dogs, a food product, especially if it's one that's branded to be all Angus beef, or you look at the, of the different chemicals that are in it, the preservatives, the coloring. These are food products. And they want to keep you eating food products because, gosh darn it, there's no patent for broccoli. If you take a nice, fresh, what do they call them? A piece of broccoli. It can't be owned by somebody. The idea of a broccoli can't. Well, they're changing that because Monsanto is putting genetic codes in all of their seeds, and that genetic code is now showing up in the food. And then Monsanto is saying that's our food. This came from our cell line, so we want to be paid every time a farmer grows this. It's pretty nefarious, really, what's happening with our food sources and our food. It's all being owned by these few companies. And so a food product is something that at one point it's a Frankenstein. It's a Frankenstein replication of something that maybe at one point you would look at as being very healthy because it occurred naturally. Now with it's branded and patented and all the money they spent in developing it, they're going to keep selling it at your demise over time. And I think everybody sees that. That's one thing that Callie Means and her brother, Callie, the brother, and the sister, Casey Means, that's what they're really talking about. is just removing the poisons from the food, removing the toxicity from the food, from the food products. But, what they're asking people to do and asking companies to do is to give up their sovereign rights to that blend, that brand that they developed, that patent of nacho cheese, Doritos, like the world would die without it. They released those patents and allowed people to, it would be something that it would change everything in the world, in our country, because you would really be relying on fresh vegetables and what people can cook and what people can make from those fresh vegetables and those meats and those spices, and they can't patent it. So in my opinion, this is why one of the reasons why we're so sick, because our food is so destroyed. It's been so tampered with that it's not really food anymore. If you're buying it in a can and you're buying it in a package and it's been flash frozen, or it's something which has to add water to make it, it's probably not a food. It's a food product. And with food products come disease and germs and toxins and, difficulty utilizing energy for it. They are full of chemical addictive properties. And why do I say that? Well, do you know that the R.J. Reynolds tobacco and these people that made all the cigarettes, when they could see in the 70s and 80s that cigarettes that they were going to be at fault for all of the toxins and that these lawsuits were coming out to destroy the cigarette industry, those companies, R.J. Reynolds, they started buying food companies. They started investing in companies that made processed food. And it was a smart business move for them, because remember, these tobacco companies had millions of dollars of scientists and people to put ingredients into their cigarettes that would be more addictive than not, to help it burn smoother, to help it, create more cravings. They can study this stuff. It's chemicals. So with all that knowledge base they had to create such an addictive nature with, cigarettes versus tobacco. By the way, they say tobacco is not addictive. Cigarettes are addictive because it's a tobacco product. It's not tobacco. Again, food product, not food. And what these companies did was they used their same scientific evaluations and technology of how they made cigarettes so addicting by testing ingredients and then doing, people's desire to do that. They put all that information into the food that they bought into, and they created this very addictive, not all of it, but a lot of it is created to make you addicted and feel like you want more, down to even the way that they market it, the way that they represent it. You can't just eat one, right? Isn't that one of them? Lay's chips, you can't just eat one. Beer, they normalize beer, calling it Miller High Life, right? Is that really where you want to be? You want to be high your whole life on Miller? Well, at the end of a hard working day, that message is that Miller is have lived the high life. Well, there's a certain percentage that are going to stay high for a really long time and get in their car and drive home and crash into somebody, and it's normalized. Hey, I was doing what I've been learned, that, I worked hard. I had a few Millers. I got a little high and, I made a bad decision in the car. So it's not our fault. It's not your fault that you're stuck in these paradigms, these situations that are very not healthy for you. And truthfully, the only way to really get out of it is you got to break free. You got to stand up for yourself. They call it medical freedom now. Okay, I'm sure you've been hearing about this. Unless you're living in some kind of rock, and some of you are, that's okay. We'll take care of you either way. There's, I don't want to talk politics here, because it doesn't mean anything because politics change. However, it's nice to see some people talking about the food industry and how toxic it is and how bad it is, and that possibly, just possibly, we're over medicating our children when they're first born with, between, 30 to 75 different immunization shots that are being recommended to all the kids. Do you know when you're first born in America, the first thing you do in the first 3 minutes of life, they smear erythromycin on your eyes to make sure that you don't get an eye infection or some kind of eye infection that people were getting. I don't know. I've never seen it. And that's the first thing. They smear the erythromycin in both your eyes, your little baby's eyes at 6 hours old. And then before they're 6 days old, they give them a shot of hepatitis B injection. Now, this isn't the type that you get from the water. This isn't the type that's hepatitis C. This is hepatitis B. This is a bloodborne pathogen that you would get if you were a drug user, an IV drug user, or if you were having unprotected sex and absorbed somebody's blood products that was infected with hepatitis, or the parent could have hepatitis. And, again, is that really, should we do it to everybody? Well, I don't know about that. You have to make that decision. I would rest on the side of caution, saying that I don't think my kid's going to get hepatitis, but who knows? Who knows? All right. Ask, just think back on what would be natural and normal for you to eat. Are sodas a better idea than drinking fresh water? That would be my first question. Do you think that you could live perfectly fine just doing nothing but drinking sodas and not having any water? Probably not. What about eating foods that have no energy? The energy you get in the foods you eat comes from the sun in the form of starch. Food itself only it holds the most within that plant because it's natural, it's raw. It hasn't been processed out. It hasn't been released yet by processing. When you take a beautiful vegetable, which is filled with energy because it's, freshly picked, and then you pulverize it by processing it, you cook it down to the point where it's something different, you have released and removed the energy that was within the food. One of the reasons why you were eating the food is for energy, yet because it's processed, there's no more energy in it. Trust me, it's true. And so now you're eating food that might have a little bit of energy. By the way, the bonds that hold sugar together are not the energy you're looking for. You're looking for the carbohydrate and the starch and the energy that's between that. And you also get energy when you eat protein because the animal ate the starch before you and turned that energy from the sun into ATP, which powered the animal's body, which then rearranged new proteins. It made new proteins, and that ATP then was captured in the protein. And when we eat the protein from that animal, we release the ATP again. And that's where we're getting energy from, you guys. You're not getting it anywhere else. Sugar doesn't give you energy. Sugar makes fat. Fat does not make fat. Fat actually gives you energy because it has such a high caloric load. And that's your friend when it comes to weight loss. And I know that everyone told you in the past fat's not your friend, but fat is your friend. You just want to stay away from the bad fats, the seed oils, the omega-6. These are really bad for you. Omega-3, they're good for you. Omega-6, bad. Omega-3, good. Omega-6, seed oils, canola, vegetable Crisco, margarine, anything that's fried, anything that's what they call polysaturated fats. Polyunsaturated fats. And these are seed oils, and these were never designed to be food. This is a food product, not food. Yet it's cheap to apply, it's cheap to use. They can cook an enormous amount of food in it without it going bad. It doesn't go rancid very easily because it's a product, it's not food. And the amount of inflammation we get and the amount of poisons that are coming into our body from using these seed oils is now the latest. Oh my God, you got to get it out of the bot. We got to get it out of the food system. There's people dying from these seed oils. Heck, I went home the other day and my wife was using one. She didn't know. It was a Crisco oil thing. I was like, throw that away. What are you doing? Well, it's just a little frying. I was like, no. You got to stop that. It's got to be real oils. So those are omega-6. They're bad. Omega-3, avocado, olive oil, coconut oil, animal fat, saturated fat, like fat that you get around a pork rib or other fat. These are not bad for you. You just don't eat too much of it, but you need those fats. And then, of course, you have the fish oils, and omega-3s also occur in flaxseed and a lot of different plants, which is why you can get omega-3s in your eggs. What they're doing is they're feeding your chickens flax seeds and all these different seeds which do have omega-3s. There's a lot of seeds that do have omega-3s. Not all seed oil is bad. And that's going to make you healthier. All right. Seed oils are no. Omega-3 is good. So my latest amount of fat I'm taking right now is for this neuropathy thing I've been suffering with. And I've had neuropathy since I was in my 30s. I'm 63. I've dealt with this for every bit of 25 years. And recently, I'm starting to get some relief from the neuropathy. I mean, it's healing. My foot is itching. I haven't had an itch in my foot in a very long time, and that means it's healing. The pain went away many years ago with the use of laser treatment. I was able to use my laser therapy to heal the neuropathy and to heal those nerve endings, but I wasn't able to really get the feeling back. And as a result of it, that neuropathy in my feet caused my muscles to become atrophied. I lost some of the muscular strength that holds my feet, holds the arch. And when you start to lose muscle strength, those bones in your feet start to migrate. They're not all held together. And this is where you can get these crazy hammer toes and these bunions and these Morton aromas, or, your ankle can get tweaked because the musculature has been affected by the neuropathy. Neuropathy means nerve damage. And I know a lot about this. I do, guys. And I go into, I'm recommended to go to a doctor who is a Chinese medicine acupuncturist practitioner. He's been in practice for, it's probably longer than me, more than 40 years. And long story short, he sat down, he said, you understand that neuropathy is a problem with the nerves? And I'm like, well, yes, I do, doctor, of course. He says, and the real problem with neuropathy is the myelin sheath. There's something called a myelin sheath, which propagates and allows the nerve impulse to jump very fast across a nerve. So if you thought of a neuron, which is a nerve, like a wire that's a nerve, they're called neurons. They have individual cells, nerve cells, and the nerve cells are backing up against one another, kind of like the train, the cars in a freight train. You would see each one behind it, and that would be the cell itself. Well, that's not what carries the message. The message is carried by the covering that covers those cell bodies called myelin sheath. And myelin, the main ingredient of myelin is fat. is fat, not omega-6 fats. I'm talking omega-3 fat. And one of them is called lecithin. Lecithin is an oil that they get from sunflower seeds. And this doctor told me, he said, I told him, I said, my wound won't heal on my foot because they tell me I keep walking on it and I have to stay off it 100%. But I said, it's almost impossible to do that short of, booting and being, I have to work. I'm a chiropractor. And he looks at me, he goes, it is not the pressure, although that could affect it. He said, it's the inflammation that you have because your body's inflamed. And that has to do with body fat levels, and you're not getting enough of these omega-3s. So here we go back to that omega-3 again. Now, let me tell you, I've been taking fish oil since some of you were still in high school, okay? I've been taking fish oil for a long time. I knew about it, castor oil, these different things. But he gave me a dosage of recommendation, which I was shocked. He told me every single morning I need to take 2 tablespoons of olive oil, fresh virgin olive oil. Yep. And then 2 tablespoons of coconut oil, MCT coconut oil. And you can get that at Publix. So 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 2 tablespoons of the coconut oil. Then he said, I need to take 4 tablespoons of granulated lecithin granules. Now, lecithin is another fat, which 4 tablespoons, you guys. And so I got it in liquid form. I don't have to, I managed to make sure I got the right dosage. So now I'm taking just 1 really huge tablespoon full of it because I got the oil one. And then he wanted me to double up on my omega-3 supplement. Do it every day. And he said to do it on an empty stomach. Oh, yeah. So you should see me in the morning. I take that olive oil. I take a big swig off of it. I take one off the coconut oil. I squeeze that lecithin out onto that tablespoon and, and kind of put that in and chase it down with some more water. And then I got the omega-3s. And of course, I also take the liposomal vitamin C. So I'm taking about 5,000 grams in the morning and another 5,000 at night, which is 10 grams. Well, 2 weeks, I'm starting to feel itching in my feet. Okay, now, sensations, pain, kind of weird. I hadn't had any pain in a long time. And it's not that my foot's getting worse, it's starting to heal. And that gosh darn wound that has been the bane of my existence for the last 4 or 5 years in different spots, it's like 80% better. And the only thing really different I did, I also fasted. I started fasting. So fasting is a powerful, powerful tool for you to repair and to heal and to rejuvenate your body. There's a lot of things that are out there. And every single one of them seems to be benefiting somebody, like these stem cells. Oh my gosh. I know that they help, and I know we produce stem cells. We need stem cells. Stem cells are produced by your body every single day. Your body's producing stem cells. And these stem cells are progenitor cells. These are cells which will differentiate into other cells as per your body's directions, what body tells it to do. And so the stem cells are being harvested from people, from their bone marrow, from other people's bone marrow, other people's like umbilical cord blood, which are full of stem cells. And then what they're doing is they're harvesting them, and then they're injecting these massive amounts of stem cells into the tissue, into the area where you have pain or where you have swelling or where something's wrong, like your knee, like your hip joint, like your shoulder. They're now putting it into all different areas of the body. And, the cost is super expensive, not covered by insurance. Minimal. If you want to go to Central America, you can do it for $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. You do it here in America, talking $8,000 to $15,000 to $25,000 for a series of stem cells and injections. And one of the problems is a lot of people that are suffering with these chronic conditions that aren't getting better. One of the main factors causing it is obesity. Obesity started out as a big belly and some extra weight. You know, the scale was getting higher and higher, and you were aware of it, but you figured you'd bust a move eventually, you'd lose that weight, and it gets more and more. And you know, now you're going up in pant size, and however, it's even harder to go to the gym now. Your business, your life doesn't involve, you know, exercise. And next thing we know, we are, we're trying to maintain and sustain extra body fat and live with it and live around it. Yet body fat's inflammatory. It creates inflammation, and it's slow and it's deleterious. And the chronic inflammation that high body fat gives you creates 90% of the diseases and problems that we're suffering with right now, especially the one called metabolic syndrome, the one that leads to strokes and cancer and diabetes and heart disease and dementia. This is all a problem with lipid metabolism and, this chronic overeating and never stopping eating that we're going through as a culture right now. We just got too much food. And as a result of it, we're developing health problems and sicknesses, which the medical profession has no problem treating, taking care of. And if you're overweight and you're full of inflammation and you're interested in doing stem cell, I'm not against stem cells, but don't do it if you're sitting around overly morbidly obese, full of inflammation, you're on all these different meds. You know, do yourself a favor, get some help for that first, and then your stem cells will be more effective. And you can absolutely give us a call for that. That is what I specialize in. Helping people lower body fat percentages, not losing weight, reducing body fat percentages, increasing metabolic health through laser therapy, applying lasers to the body. Incredible. All right. You know where I'm located? Stuart, Florida, East Ocean Boulevard, right across from the Fresh Market. It's called Dr. Tread's Slim Body Laser Spa. I have FDA cleared low-level laser therapy, 9 sessions in 3 weeks. You can lose 1 to 3 to 4 to 5 inches of girth. I went from a 40 to a 36 waist. Today, my waist is a 32. Okay. I used my laser and eating less and some exercise to completely rehabilitate and change my whole look, my health, my outcome. And if it wasn't for that laser to get me started and to get me results very quickly, I don't think I could have done what I did where I'm at today. And that is the benefit behind Dr. Tread's Slim Body Laser Spa, is the ability to utilize low-level laser technology for spot fat reduction, body contouring, and a guaranteed money-back way of losing body fat, not just losing weight. So, I am going to give you, this is something that I was asked to talk about. What's the best way to heal? What's the best way? Suppose you were challenged with a health problem, and believe me, a lot of you are. How would you look at it versus the way medical, remember we go in and we got this tumor or this infection or this health issue, and then we go into the paradigm, which is the medical model, which we know is diagnostics, lots of diagnostics, find out what's wrong, and then the use of chemicals, mostly chemicals, petroleum-based chemicals to try to alleviate some of the symptomatology, the finding, the lower the blood pressure, reduce the inflammation, try to stop the pain, block the pain signals, support brace therapy. And when that doesn't work, you find out that the doctor you went to only looked at one little part of your body, right? Your problem was in your chest, so they sent you to the cardiologist who didn't look at your diet. He doesn't look at your diet. They're looking at to see if you have a heart attack. Or maybe you went to the neuropathy doctor, the neurologist, who diagnosed the neuropathy but never really looked at your spine as to why it's happening, or maybe it was the food you ate, or you were poisoned many years. They don't go through that. They don't ask you that. They just treat the symptom with the gabapentin. Maybe you have also went to the podiatrist because of the neuropathy. They don't look anywhere above your knee for the problem, by the way. They focus on the source of where the problem is. My dad used to say, being a specialist means you're learning more and more about less and less. So you can't separate a person into these little pieces without looking at the whole totalitarian of the problem. So I wrote a paper called Better Health and Better Tissue Repair from a Systems Approach. All right. Now, I have a copy of this if you're interested, because this is a lot to go over in just a short time, but I'm going to give you a little tease. And if you'd like, you can go online, go to Slim Body Laser Spa, hit the contact, say you'd like a copy of this 3-page document. It's called Better Health and Repair from a Systems Base. So really quick, you have 6 various body systems which control your entire health. And in order to be healthy and to repair from disease or problems, you need to look at each one of these systems to make sure that they are operating at their potential. If one of these systems is not functioning properly, everything else is going to crash as a result of that. There's an old saying, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. And since medicine has hacked you up into all these little pieces, you're never getting a full totalitarian look at your health, which is what we do at the spa. We look at everything. So the first one is your glandular system. And these are the glands of your face, the glands of your stomach, your thyroid, your adrenal glands, your sexual glands, your sweat glands, the glandular system. It's also very important because the glandular system has to do with your hormones, your estrogen and progesterone, and your all these things which make your body function. You need to know that the glandular system's working properly. Number 2 is a proper functioning eliminative system. In order to have life and process foods, we have to have a way of eliminating these poisons and these toxins. We call this the eliminative system. And that might have to do with lower colon, bladder issues, also breathing and breath. You will get rid of a lot of toxins when you breathe. So that's the eliminative system. Number 3 is the nervous system. And these would be the brain, the spinal cord, and all the peripheral nerves that carry the messages and the impulses to and from your body. You have to make sure that everything is working properly there, that there's proper tonicity and proper nerve flow. Number 4 is the digestive system. Now, the digestive system would be your stomach, your being able to chew food, your salivary glands, your colon, your descending colon, your microgut biome. Your digestive system has to work properly for you to be healthy. Number 5 is the muscular system. The muscles that move your body and move the fluids through your body. They allow you to move away from poisons, move closer to health. The muscles keep you from falling. They allow you to get up when you're laying down. They also protect your bones. If you don't have a strong muscular system, it's real easy to break a bone, isn't it? Number 6 is the circulatory system. And this has to do with your heart, your lungs, the vessels, whether or not the vessels are clogged or whether they're encroached upon. So these 6 systems need to be looked at, and each one individually, to see if there's any problems here. And addressing these systems and not just one symptom, to me, is a much better idea of health and healing. They essentially consist all of your life functions. They work under the innate intelligence and work harmoniously to influence every facet of your health, longevity, and overall body functions. All right. So that is better health and repair from a systems approach from those 6 systems. If you'd like to know more about this, you can give me a call, schedule a free consultation with me at the spa, 772-223-5885. It's also called Dr. Tread's Slim Body Laser. Do the contact page, hit the agreement, go to my website, do a contact, tell me what you're interested in learning about. I want to help. We also have openings. We're pre-signing people all through the next September, October, November is going to be very busy for us. So you've been sitting on the fence about wanting to get rid of some belly fat. You should think about doing it right away, because we're there to help. And it's reasonable. We can set up a payment plan that will cost you as low as $230 a month for a year. And that will pay for all of your laser plan. All right. Hey, thank you so much for listening. If you like what you heard, please hit like and share and subscribe and share this with somebody else. Come on down to the Slim Body Laser Spa. Learn about it. We'll help you out. I will see you soon. Peace. Thank you for listening.